Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into how the entire global order is being shaken up and reshaped by a new era of superpower competition. And our analysis is all based on some fantastic work by Dr. Lynn Quark at the Brookings Institution.
Okay, so let's just jump right into the big question on everyone's mind. Has a real shift in U.S. foreign policy fundamentally changed the world we live in? And well, according to Dr. Quark, the short answer is a resounding yes. A decisive turn has been taken. So to really get our heads around this, we're going to walk through 5 key ideas. We'll start with why everything feels so chaotic right now, and we'll actually end on some surprising, glimmers of hope that might just be emerging from all this rivalry.
First up, a world in flux. The big idea here is that recent trends haven't just continued, they've been put on hyperdrive. And this has created a global order that's way less predictable, where the old rules we all kind of took for granted, they just don't seem to apply anymore.
So the most crucial thing to take away is that we are living in a much more unstable world. You're seeing countries hedging their bets, they're questioning old friendships, and they're scrambling to find new partners as the very ground shifts beneath their feet. But this instability isn't just random chaos. It's actually built on 3 massive shifts, you could call them pillars, that are actively changing how nations deal with each other. All right, let's break these 3 pillars down. Number 1, international law is kind of fraying at the edges. Number 2, those rock-solid alliances we used to know, they're being seriously questioned. And number 3, the whole global balance of power is going through a major transformation. And if you want a perfect, just jaw-dropping example of that first pillar, the eroding rule of law, look at this number. In the world of trade, we've seen these massive tariffs imposed on what experts are calling dubious grounds. A tariff of 3,500%. I mean, that's a scale we just haven't seen before. In all this uncertainty, it's really shaken up traditional security alliances. You have allies in Europe and Asia now having to ask themselves, hey, can we still rely on the U.S. security umbrella? And this isn't just abstract talk. It leads to some very real fears about a potential nuclear arms race, with countries like South Korea or Japan wondering if they need their own deterrent. Which, of course, brings us to the main event, the central rivalry that is shaping this entire new era, the incredibly complicated, high-stakes relationship between the United States and China. Now this is fascinating. It just perfectly illustrates a huge shift in how the world sees things. For a long, long time, the U.S. would criticize China for things like ignoring international law or acting like a bully. But now, many countries are looking at recent U.S. actions and saying, wait a minute, we could say the exact same things about you. The script has totally flipped. And this tension didn't just pop up overnight. From Beijing's perspective, this is a story that's been building for decades, fueled by events it sees as direct threats, from the Taiwan Strait crisis to the accidental bombing of its embassy to the U.S. pivot to Asia. All these things have created what you might call a deep structural flaw in the relationship. So looking forward, where does it all go from here? Well, experts say the future of this rivalry really hangs on 3 key things we need to watch. First, can they actually hammer out a trade deal? Second, how does the U.S. frame its next big defense strategy? And finally, and this is huge, how will China itself decide to act, based on its own view of the world? You see, this superpower rivalry has enormous consequences for literally everyone, and it puts a huge strain on the international institutions that were designed to keep the peace, like the United Nations. So when the UN Security Council is basically gridlocked by these competing interests, countries aren't just sitting around and waiting. They're getting proactive, forming smaller, more nimble groups to actually tackle the issues they care about. And these new groups, they have a name. It's a key bit of jargon you hear a lot now, mini-laterals. Basically, they're these flexible little partnerships designed to get things done when the big formal institutions just can't. And I bet you've heard of some of these, even if you didn't know the name for them. You've got things like the Quad in the Indo-Pacific or the AUKUS Security Pact between Australia, the UK, and the US. These are classic examples of mini-laterals in action. All right, so I know a lot of this might sound like doom and gloom, a world in flux, superpower tension, but here's where the story takes a really interesting and frankly unexpected turn. There's an idea that this intense rivalry could actually have some positive effects. Get this, there was this long-running border dispute between Thailand and Cambodia, and the threat of U.S. tariffs actually helped push them towards a ceasefire. But then, China, not wanting to get left behind or lose influence, jumped in to reinforce that peace deal. It's this wild case of competitive peacemaking. And this all brings us back to the ultimate takeaway from Dr. Quark's analysis. And it's captured perfectly in this quote. The point is that international law and cooperation, they aren't just luxuries or some feel-good idealistic dream. They are, in fact, hard-nosed calculations that are the smartest way to secure your own national interest. So that leaves us with this final, really provocative thought to chew on. In a world that seems to be defined more and more by competition, can nations find a way to redefine their own interests and maybe, just maybe, turn that rivalry into cooperation for the common good?